I'll make this work. Okay. Hello. How you doing, Ty?
I'm
Hello.
good. How are you?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. All right. So, can you tell the people who you are and what you do currently at this present moment in time?
Well, hi everyone. My name is Tye Queen. I'm a junior at Washington Adventist University. I play on the women's basketball team and I am a psychology major with a minor in behavioral science. My goal is to go into mental health care and become a psychologist.
Wow. All right. I actually, I went to undergrad for psychology.
It's great.
Yeah, I like studying human mind, trying to figure out how people think.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
That's why,
lot to unpack.
yeah, that's why we're here now because we gotta figure out, the why behind what people
Oh
do.
yeah. That's
Um,
important.
yeah. Yeah. So obviously, you are a mental health advocate.
hmm
Can you sit here and describe your journey? Describe your childhood. What it was like growing, because you are yeah. Can you describe your childhood and what it was like growing up and your family's view and your own view on mental health and how that influenced your early experience with your own emotions?
I would say growing up in my household, we didn't really talk much about mental health. I grew up surrounded by a lot of love. I have very supportive parents. Um, and I'm very thankful for that. But we didn't really talk much about mental health, much about depression or, therapy or treatment and things like that. That just wasn't a conversation that we really had. So when I started to have my own experiences with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, I didn't really know what to say or where to go because that wasn't a conversation that we really had. So I had to do my own research and kind of take matters into my own hands. My parents were just kind of like, well, you're fine. You have a lot of reasons to be happy. Like, you're good. You're good. It was always like that, be tough mentality, which is good sometimes, but I just realized for myself, I needed a little more treatment. And I didn't get that till I was older because that wasn't a conversation I had growing up.
At what age did you really notice that you had things that you needed to identify?
I would say I was probably like 15 or 16 years old. When I didn't get help then, but I realized that that was probably what I should have got. But because I didn't have those conversations, I really didn't know where to go, and I didn't really end up going to therapy until I was about like 18. But I knew that I needed it when I was like 15 or 16, but I was scared because of the stigma. I stopped myself from going.
What emotions were you experiencing at that point in time, which let you know that, hey, I need to sit here and figure something out? Were you like angry? Were you anxious? Were you depressed? Like, what was going on at that moment in time that you know?
I would say a lot of anxiety things that I didn't know were anxiety. And that happens a lot. A lot of the things that we experience and we do are signs of anxiety, but we don't even know. I had a lot of sleeping patterns. I tend to oversleep when I'm depressed or I'm anxious, so that was something I noticed. And I was kind of just always on edge. I was very irritable and a lot of changes in kind of my eating habits. That would be things that I would say kind of played into my emotional state and that made me just kind of like disengaged. I was very distant from conversations and I was very irritable. I just wanted to be left alone. So those things tied into my emotional well-being and kind of led me deeper and deeper into the whole of anxiety and depression.
Um, so you mentioned that you were an athlete. You play
Mhm.
basketball right now, currently in college. So obviously you've been playing basketball for a really long time. Did playing a sport have a role in how you felt?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would say my early years in life, before I found my passion in mental health and other things, basketball was my life. That was all I did. I started playing when I was 6 years old. So I think that was just kind of my identity. I played all year round. So basketball was a huge part of my life. And like that was my identity. That was my self-worth. So a lot of my emotional state was dependent on how basketball was going because I didn't have any other hobbies really. I didn't do much outside of that. So that became who I was. I was Ty the basketball player, not Ty the friend, the sister, the mental health advocate. I was just Ty the basketball player. And that was my identity, and that became the control of my mental and emotional health.
Okay. Um, okay, yeah. So like were you able like, how did that impact the relationships with in your life as well, when your identity was tied to just playing basketball?
I would say it kind of affected my relationships because I didn't know who I was, so it was just very difficult a lot of the time. Like I had a lot of friends, I knew everybody, but I was always kind of gravitating towards my teammates because we had so much in common. If you don't know much else about yourself besides like the sport that you play, it's hard to make friends because it's like, well, what do we have in common? I don't know what else I like. I don't know who I am outside of this. So what do I have in common with you? You may be nice and we can talk, we can laugh, but I kind of stayed around like basketball players and people that I really just had that in common with. So it was just that was the way I made my connections. And I didn't really connect with many other people, or that was kind of like how they knew me. And a lot of people they didn't get to know Ty outside of that. And that makes me sad because now I realize that I'm so much more than who I am for 40 minutes on the basketball court.
But you're still young, so you got a lot of time. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, you're
I
really
forget
young.
that sometimes.
Hey, I know you got the old soul, you got the old soul, but you're still
Yes.
young in age, so you have a lot of time to sit here and, reverse a lot of things because if I'm not mistaken, you're only like 20 years old.
Yeah.
So it's like, nah, like you're able to sit and nip it in the butt early on, so you don't have to worry
Hmm.
about the back end.
Yes.
So was there a moment in time like in high school that really, because I know we spoke a little bit outside
Mhm.
previously, could you expand on that, like certain incident in high school which made you feel a certain way about yourself?
I would say there was a time, like there was just a long period of time where I really just, like I mentioned, didn't know who I was. I was in a bad situation at my first high school with a coach, and I did experience some body shaming, and that affected the way that I saw myself. And my image was my weight, not only as an athlete, but like my body image was really, really bad. And I struggled with that for a long time. And the turning point, I think, when my mental health started to get a little better was when I left that school and went to a new school. And that was when I started my mental health page. So things started to look upwards. I was in a better situation. I found my passion for mental health and I acted on it. So I would say kind of like the first half of high school, struggling really bad with depression. That came later as well. And going through body shaming, it's traumatic, in itself. But I think a turning point for me was, getting out of that situation and really finding my passion with mental health. And I think that that's led me kind of to where I am now.
So yeah. When you talked about removing yourself, like it's like removing yourself from certain rooms that you don't need to be in. Sometimes we
Absolutely.
some rooms where it's like we're not being forced to sit here and stay in this room. We have the ability to sit here and say, no, you know what? I'm going to sit here and go to this other room where it more aligns with me, and I don't feel a sense of guilt or a sense of shame or anything like that.
Hmm.
So I appreciate the fact that you mentioned that. Could you like what practices have you adopted, in order to sit here and get away from that sense of shame, because I know a lot of young ladies may experience this, not even
Hmm.
like I know, personally, like women who
Yeah.
have experienced this. So it's like, what practices have you adopted to sit here and get over that sense of shame? What have you instilled in your own lifestyle or what mindset, whatever the case may be, what have you done?
So, body shaming and body image can affect anybody. I see, with women a lot of the time, yes, but it can really impact anybody. And something that I've had to tell myself over time is that, beauty doesn't look one way. Um, to me, it's just always been understanding through therapy that I'm so much more than my body or my weight. I don't want to spend my whole life wishing there was less of me, focusing on what I look like, especially when beauty comes in so many ways. Like being skinny is beautiful, being plus size is beautiful. There's just so many ways to be beautiful. God created us how we are for a reason, and mine has just always been like, a lot of people use when you're like, oh, you're not healthy. Well, my doctor says I'm healthy, and that's all I care about. So that whole thing, like just knowing I'm taking care of myself and I may not lose weight, but as long as I'm healthy, that's all I care about. And, loving my body has been so much more than how it looks. I love my body when I go play basketball, when I go run, when I go to the gym. So I have to focus on what it does for me versus how it looks. And just every day point out something that you like about yourself, about your body. Wear clothes that make you feel confident. You know, those little things and those little mindset shifts have taken me very far in my self-image and my self-love journey.
I appreciate it. Like
Mhm.
it's like that saying of everything that glitters isn't gold. Just because someone made it look a certain way, they may have the whole package, quote unquote. And all actually,
Mhm.
they're not beautiful. They're not a beautiful person. And
Mhm.
what's going on inside is very, very, very nasty.
Yes.
I've come across yeah, and what
Yeah.
and I've also come across people who are like, it's like I can see within you and like you are a beautiful person. You may not feel like
Mhm.
it, but it's like just spending time with you, just being in your space and experiencing your energy. It's like, man, somebody's gonna be so lucky to see and experience you one day.
Yes. And that's what matters. Beauty is so much more than the skin. It's your soul, it's your personality, how you treat people. Those are the things that make someone beautiful. And we forget that in society. That's what it's all about.
Big facts, big facts.
Mhm.
Um, so have you so when once again we spoke beforehand.
Yeah.
Uh, and you mentioned being in relationships,
Yeah.
can you give a little tidbit or whatever about relationships that you've been in and how
Mhm.
that affected your mental health?
Oh my goodness. I'm not gonna lie, I've been in quite a few. That's not a secret. Um, you know, when you're young, you date, you're naive, you make mistakes, you pick the wrong partners, and I've made that decision. I've chose some of the wrong partners, and I've never really talked about this openly, but I think sometimes, well, when I was younger, like I always needed to have a partner to validate loving me because I didn't love myself. And it can be very hard, like looking back at what you used to tolerate or looking back at partners that you chose, but you know, you live and you learn, you learn later on what you will and you won't tolerate. I've been in some bad situations, some abuse in relationships. Um, and it's hard, and when you finally get the courage to leave, you realize all the trauma and things that you've been through. It's been hard. Last year, I've talked about this on my page. I was in an abusive situation and it was very, very tough on my mental health. But I think the biggest thing I've learned is like when someone breaks you down, building yourself up, that's what that's what it's all about. Like that's where your pure strength comes, and it's hard. It makes you not want to love again, but don't block yourself from those blessings. And that's just what I've had to tell myself, you got to pick yourself up even after somebody rips you apart, and it's hard, but you're so much more than another person. You have to know who you are outside of this person as well. And that's something I've struggled with. And you just learn what you will and won't tolerate in the future. My next partner, these are the boundaries I have to set and I have to stick to them. So it's just been a learning process, honestly.
Yeah, it's like the Phoenix. I like Harry Potter. And
Hmm. The classic. I mean, yeah.
it was like the Phoenix was, it burns and it comes back and it's rebirth. Goes through a rebirth, and that's the kind of same thing when you go through these relationships. It's like, I sat here and I kind of died, but it's
Yeah,
through that process, that rebirth, I'm able to sit here and kind of build myself all over again. And I'm able to sit and use the wisdom from the past in order to sit here, or the lessons from the past in order for me to sit here and go into this next stage of my life a little bit differently, you know.
absolutely.
And like what I'm realizing is that, I have a quote, it's like love is abundant, time isn't.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm always gonna be able to love, you know what I'm saying? But I have to understand who I'm able to see here and really designate or focus my energy on, because not everybody's really meant to sit here and get your energy.
No.
Once you understand the
Uh-uh.
value of your own energy, it's like, nah, I understand you might be having your own history or whatever, but it's like where you at in your stage of life, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So let me nip this in the bud now.
Hmm.
It's easier said than done because I'm human too. I'm human.
Yeah. And you want love. You want to give love and you want to be
Yeah,
loved.
yeah, So like that's my thing. It's like you
Hmm.
putting like it's like I'm a loving person. I want to give you this love, but it's like, what am I losing in the process of giving you this love?
Yeah. Yep,
Mm.
absolutely.
So you also mentioned that you went through a car accident.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I know
Hmm.
that was you said that was very traumatic. Can you elaborate on this and like what you learned and how you was able to stay and get through that?
So I was actually in three in 1 year and it was very, very traumatic. Yeah. My first school I was at, it was a hit and run. My teammate, unfortunately, at the time she was hit, and that was very traumatic. Thank God she recovered and she's doing fine now, but the trauma's still there. And then me and my best friend and her friend, we were all in the car together. We were in a hit and run and the car was totaled, unfortunately. And then I was in another accident where someone was driving crazy in front of me and like a piece of their car had like flew off and hit my car. But it was just a lot, back to back to back all in 1 year. And I'm glad I can talk about this because it does talk, it sheds light on a part of my anxiety. I have very bad anxiety driving. Um, and that's just something that I just work through in therapy. I have to not live in fear. I don't believe in that. Anxiety is a lot of fear and it's yourself trying to keep yourself safe, if that makes sense. But I can't live in fear. I have to drive. I commute to school. So I just drive very cautious, but I don't live in fear. I work through it. It's still very difficult because I hate driving. It's a big part of my anxiety, but honestly, what works for me is I just pray about it. I drive cautious, I drive safe, I go with my gut. And, I still work through those things in therapy. I don't believe in living in fear. You just get up, you keep going, and just stay on your toes. I mean, that's just what it's been for me. And hopefully, the more I go to therapy, I can unpack that because that is a big like part of my anxiety. I'm a passenger princess, so you know. But it's just something you just continue to work through. It's still very hard because it's stuff happens every day, but you just get up and you just stay alert, protect yourself and go with your gut, you know?
Yeah, listen, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I mean, passenger princess all the way,
Absolutely. All day.
all day, every day.
All day.
As long as you're able to see a DJ, that's all that matters.
Yes, I can throw on a good playlist now.
All right, okay.
I'm a co-pilot,
Yo, co-pilot. Okay, okay. There we go. Co-pilot to the pilot. I respect that.
right?
Mhm. So, something that I've been like for the past couple of years, when I think about fear, it's like, it's like false evidence appearing real.
Hmm.
It's just like, you're so, it's just like you said, it's you're living in fear because you're trying to protect yourself from something.
Yes.
And it's like,
Hmm.
but that something hasn't even happened yet. So it's like, well, why are you trying to protect? Like, just live in the moment, just live in the present,
Yeah.
and just move smart, and like really just say or move smart. That's really the biggest thing. You make the right choices throughout the day and listen to their inner voice.
Yeah. I mean, something can happen whether you're scared or whether you're not scared. So you might as well just live, you know? I mean, if something is meant to happen to you, God forbid, it's going to happen. So it's going to happen whether you're scared or whether you're not scared. So you might as well just try to be positive and like you said, like just be on your toes, be alert, you know. You just have to pray about it. Something's going to happen and we can't stop it. So don't live in fear. Just live.
There we go. Yep.
Yeah.
Live. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Just
Yeah.
live in the moment, because whether you having the time of your life or whether you're down and out, it's like it's gonna happen. It's all
Yeah.
all part a grand plan, all part of God's design.
Yeah,
You mentioned like therapy, and I'm here for it. I'm a big fan of
love
therapy.
it.
Can you see here, describe your journey and like, what you learned about yourself and like what self-care habits you've been able to see and pick up throughout your journey?
I started therapy. I first went when I was a freshman in college. I didn't really take it serious. I'm not gonna lie, and I couldn't tell you why. I think sometimes we are so used to being a certain type of way, and we're comfortable in our own misery that the thought of being happy and getting help scares us. I think that that's a very real thing. And maybe I was uncomfortable with being vulnerable, but I went on and off. And then my sophomore year, I went to a couple sessions. I was still the same way. I was uncomfortable, maybe looking back at some of my past and having to like face certain things. I think that's what it was. But the last about 4 or 5 months, I've been pretty consistent and it's paid off. I think the biggest thing that I've learned about myself is that I have to challenge my thoughts. That's a lot of what anxiety and really mainly anxiety, like you have all these crazy rushing thoughts. What if, oh my gosh. You have to challenge those thoughts and you have to sit there and be like, okay, but this could happen too. Or, you know, what if this happens? You just have to really calm yourself down and you have to take control of your mind. And I catch myself doing that a lot more. And something that I've learned as a self care habit is I write down everything that stresses me out and I cross off what I can't control. My attitude, how hard I work, you know, how much I take care of myself, I can control that. What other people say, what other people do, you know, if something is stressing me, I was like going to school. If there's traffic, I can't control that, but I can control if I let it frustrate me when I get to school. I can control if I let it mess up my day. So I just have to focus on what I can control and focus on my thoughts. Look at what's really happening and not what you think could happen or what you think could happen in the future. Focus on what is really going on in front of you. That's what's helped me cope with my anxiety more, even though it's still a struggle.
Yeah, I'm here for it. No, like what's in my control, what's not out of my control.
Hmm.
That's the perfect way to put it. A lot of things are really out of our control. It's like you said, it's like if I'm stuck in traffic, I have no control over this right now. Let me not even stress myself out. It's like this, it is what it is at this moment. Just sit here and just try to find your way there. Like earlier when I was, trying to log in and it was just taking forever. It's like
Yeah.
I'm out of my control. I just love your attitude about it. Like,
Yeah. It happens. I'm still gonna be here. I was waiting.
I said, Um, so you mentioned if you tied your identity to basketball.
Hmm.
Um, how have you worked with that? Or like how like do you still struggle with your identity when it's tied to basketball? And like, you know, do you plan on going to WNBA and like how have you sat here and found who you are outside of basketball? That's what I'm basically asking.
So I actually was just, thinking about this the other day, and this was something I was working through. Personally, I plan to just play these next 2 years in college, and then I think I'm just done with basketball. I don't, plan to play professional, and that's something that I keep in my mind is I don't want to graduate and not know who I am or what I want to do with my life. So I've started now. So with me, and this doesn't work for all athletes, but this is my approach. It's like when I put less pressure on basketball, I have more fun. When I look at basketball as a hobby and a small part of my life and I don't make it my whole life, it's so much better. So I've had to find things that I like to do outside of basketball, like I said, mental health. And so I kind of like plan out my life and I make like a little chart in my head. So I'm like, basketball is like 20% of my life. My family is 50% of what I'm focusing on. And then the other, like 20% I'm focusing on this, 10% I'm focusing on this. And different days are different. Some days it's all basketball. Some days, I have to focus on school. But I do have moments in the day where I'm like, I'm not thinking about basketball. I'm not talking about it. I'm here with my family. I'm gonna focus on that. Or I'm on my mental health page making a post. I'm focusing on that. I'm watching my favorite show. that's my focus. So I just every day I do carve out time to just be away from basketball. And I put so much emphasis on the things that bring me joy outside of that. My family, my mental health page, journaling, reading, exercising. Those are the things that I really focus on because those are the biggest parts of my life. And that's who I am outside of the sport. So, really, just creating balance and finding other hobbies and carving out time to be away from my sport has helped me so much. It's helped me enjoy it more when I do it because it's not as much pressure.
I love that the idea of balance. Like,
Mhm.
like I'm so much more than just this one thing. Let me sit here and take
Mhm.
more time for me to find time. Like, let me sit here and designate time for me to sit here and experience new opportunities. Whereas, like, I enjoy sitting, spending time with my family. I enjoy sitting here, diving deeper into the realm of mental health. Like, there's so much more. So let me sit here and focus on this. But it's also on the same token, like there's other days where it's like I got to focus on basketball because hey, I got a game coming up, so I got to sit here and lock in a little bit. But hey, basketball isn't my entire life, you know.
Right.
And just like I said, like you're still young, so it's like you're going to be able to sit here and you're gonna find yourself. Like that's that you already know this without doubt.
Mhm.
And all them people who may have not been able to experience you in the past, they're gonna come right back around and
Yeah.
really experience it new and new.
Yeah. I'm excited for that.
I'm excited for you too.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's what life is. Sometimes you just have to keep finding yourself and through different times of your life, you'll be different. You'll grow and you'll change and you'll elevate and that's just what life is, I feel like.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So, so how do you deal with your time management? Well, yeah, how do you deal with your time management? Because you are a student athlete, you are a student, you have to spend time with your family. How do you manage your time?
So I like to plan my weeks out, my days out. I do prioritize every day some me time. I put my phone down, I go journal, I go read, I go, listen to music or be with my family just to kind of reconnect with what's around me. A lot of the time it's very hard because school and basketball is all I do. So every day I do prioritize 30 minutes, an hour of just like doing something I want to do outside of that. I just try to plan out my weeks. I'm like, okay, well, I know I got practice this time these days. I have class and I kind of just go like with the schedule. I mean, stuff happens. That's not always how it goes, but I just go to class, obviously go to practice, but I make time every day to take care of myself and to check in with myself. So I try to be very, very organized, very structured, but also make sure that that's where that balance comes in of, okay, today I'm going to read my book or I'm going to journal for 30 minutes or I'm just going to go talk to my family. So that's every day. Some days it's 15 minutes, 30, an hour. If I'm lucky, 2 hours. That's happened like once. But, just making time for myself every single day and being where I need to be, but remembering who I am outside of these things is so important.
So, what's a message or quote that you would like to leave with the people?
One of the biggest things that's like the biggest quotes that's ever changed my life was before you end your life, end the life you're currently living first. I live by that. Sometimes we feel like we want to end our life and we really don't. You just have to look around you and make those changes before you make that decision. Sometimes finding a new hobby, getting a new friend group, leaving a certain environment can change everything. And of course, there's nothing wrong with getting help. It's saved my life speaking up, posting about your journey. You can inspire so many people and getting help. There's such a stigma around it, but there's really nothing wrong with it. Life is hard, and sometimes you just need help, and that's completely fine.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. Um,
Yes.
where can the people find you?
So my mental health page is Mental Health with Ty on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. So feel free to follow. I'm pretty active on there. You can always reach out, DM for help. And yeah, Mental Health with Ty on all platforms. TYE.
YE, there we go. Hi. Yeah, yeah. All right. All right, guys. Thank you for sitting here, tapping in. You know where to see here and find her. I'm at Top the Top on all platforms.
That's right.
Guys, we'll sit here and see her or speak to her rather sooner rather than later.
Yes.
So have a good day, guys.
Thank you.